Hey, welcome back to Gold's Garage. So today we're back with Bill Little at Belmont Automotive in London, and as promised, more in the series of the 427, David Bougie's 427 BluePrint engine that we bought from BluePrint. And so we're talking about the camshaft, and BluePrint tells you a couple things about it. They tell you the lift and duration, and that's about it, and you're on your own for the rest. So if I can use an analogy, if you're old enough to remember the Clint Eastwood movie, one of the Dirty Harry movies, where he had his .45 revolver and he was pointing it at the bad guy, and he said, "I can't remember if I had five shots or 6 shots," and the bad guy says, "I gots to know." Well, we got to know a lot more about this camshaft than we do now, because there's a lot more than lift and duration, right? They're only telling you the lift and duration at 50 thou. We don't know the advertised duration. We don't know the opening and closing points.
Right.
We don't know the ramps. We don't know how the cam's made. Is it a small base circle? Is it not? There's lots of other things to know. And in the end, what we've taxed Bill with the question, when he's all said and done telling us what he's learned from having it on Cam Pro, that's another thing I call it,
Cam
the
Pro,
Cam
yep.
Doctor. The technical name is Cam Pro. Are we recommending to David Bougie, our customer, should we upgrade this camera, put it back in, and run it the way it is? So that's enough for me. Turn it over to Bill, and it's all yours, guy. So,
Hi guys, I've got the cam set up in the cam machine here, and we have it on the number 1 exhaust lobe. We're gonna run it, and then we're gonna move it over to the intake lobe, and we're going to see if the lobe separation and the lift, and we're going to get some advertised duration numbers, which will be really interesting. Just by the looks of the way the lifter has been riding on the lobe, my guess is it's got a lot of advertised duration, and that makes the ramp soft and smooth, and it's not going to beat up stuff. BluePrint wanted to make this goof proof, and they had a horsepower number, and the cam matches a horsepower number, so there's nothing wrong with the cam. It is a cast camshaft. A cast core is not as strong as a steel core. These are induction hardened lobes, and it's probably 10 to 15 thou thick, and they complemented that with a valve spring that's only 135 pounds on the seat. So I'd rather see 150, 160 pounds on the seat, and I don't know if this cam core will handle that much pressure on the seat. So anyway, we're going to get things going here. We're going to run this lobe. I got to clear this here. Okay, everything's at 0. So I'm gonna give this one turn until it beeps. It's a pretty neat machine. You can learn a lot with this machine. Audi Technology did an awesome job building this. I was looking at the serial number of it the other day, and it's number 546. So I bought this back in 2007. Okay, so we'll come over here, and we have some numbers on here. So let's see what we got. At 6 thou, we're 317.84, and at 50 thou, it's 248, and 160. We won't have a lobe separation right now because we need an intake to go with it. So we're going to do the intake here. And we're going to move this over to an intake lobe. And that'll be the 3rd one on the cam. I got to 0 the linear. Alright, push a measure. We'll see what this one does. Okay, we're going to go over here and see what kind of numbers we have here. First, okay, that's red for the exhaust. Let's put the intake blue so people can distinguish it. Now let's go that blue. I like that better. Okay, so there's the lobes, there's the ramps. They're very soft. You can see how it's a very soft lobe. If you look at the pointer here, it opens it very slow across the nose, sets it down very gentle. The intake's a little more aggressive. It opens it quick a little bit at the start, and then it smooths it out over the nose. These squiggle marks here, that's there on purpose to let the valve spring get caught up. It actually speeds the lobe up, slows it down, so that everything can catch up. And then it's pretty soft on the intake, but not as soft as the exhaust. They wanted the exhaust soft so it doesn't beat the seats out on the exhaust. So let's get a cam card report here and see what we have. Okay, let's see. So we're 111.84. The valve overlap at 6 is 85.4. Duration 301.3 on the intake, 320 on the exhaust. Holy smokes, that's a pretty lazy ramp there. The lift is 574, almost 575, and 579 on the exhaust. The 50 thou numbers, we have 241.3, 249.0, and that's still 574. It actually gives me the lift at top dead center there also. What's the 200 numbers? Let's see. 200 duration, it's 156, 160. So there again, the exhaust is pretty soft on it. So we're going to print that off, and then we're going to take a look at some other stuff. We'll be back in a minute or two, and I'll have some paperwork for you. Hi guys, we're back. We have some paperwork to show you. First we'll show the graph here. So this is the intake, or the exhaust lobe, the red one. The intake's the blue, and you can see the ramps open, close on the exhaust, open, close on the intake. The exhaust is softer than what the intake is. You can see here's top dead center, here's the overlap triangle. You can see how it's very slow closing on the exhaust, so that's where a lot of the duration came from. That's basically bleeding off cylinder pressure. Maybe they did that for a reason. The intake's open slow, but it doesn't open. The intake opens faster than what the exhaust is closing, I guess, and the intake close is gentle and the exhaust open is gentle. So the cam would be very, very easy on parts. So, and the valve lift at top dead center, the exhaust 135 thou, the intake 117. So there shouldn't be any problems with valve to piston clearance, because everything is, if you get up to the 200 mark, sometimes with a lower lobe separation cam, you get problems with valve to piston clearance. It's a 111.84 lobe separation. So here's some numbers. So this is a cam card basically. Shows you the overlap is 85.4 degrees. The intake duration is 301.3 advertised and 320.3 on the exhaust. The lift is 574.56 and 579.54. And moving up to the intake at 50, 241. And what's the specs on this?
240, 248.
240, 248. So we're 241 and 249. So that's relatively close.
Pretty darn close, yeah.
If you get within a degree, that's pretty darn good. Yes, yep. Exactly. And then the 200 numbers sort of tells you the aggressiveness of the cam between 50 and 200. It's pretty soft also. So what else? I just to show you how much the duration can be on, or how long the ramps are. So we'll look at the exhaust. So this is with no rocker ratio. This is just the cam by itself, cam lift only. At 1 thou lift, we got 367.09 degrees. and then it goes to 351, 332. There's our 320 at 6. But
Okay.
these numbers, like it goes from 367 to 320. That's 47, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, degrees in 6 thou.
Wow.
That's crazy, you know. So soft ramps again, you
Yep.
know, and the intake, you can see it's 333 compared to 367, so it's more aggressive than what the exhaust is. So it's a nice cam for everyday driving and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see, what else have I got here? So this is the actual duration. This is at the valve. So this is what the engine sees. So this is with the rocker ratio in here. You can see at 1 thou it's still a lot of duration. Now I think I had let's see now, pico. Oh, there wasn't much run out, but it starts out 396.89, and then by the time you get up here to 50, it decreases. Same as the intake, it starts out 338.9 and then decreases also. So even with the rocker included, there's still a lot of ramp at the valve. The valve sees a lot of ramp. So that's going to set things down gentle. It's not going to beat the heck out of the tip on the valve or the rocker. It just longevity basically. So it would actually be a good boat cam because
Okay. Never thought of that.
because it's soft and a boat is very hard on stuff, you know. So anyhow, so I guess we have to maybe critique this a little bit. BluePrint did a good job on the camshaft for the horsepower that it's making, right, Alan?
Yeah, it's kind of looks to me, the numbers, and we were talking about the difference between the advertised and the at 50 numbers. It's kind of like an OEM GM.
It's like a GM,
cam, like
exactly.
a Z28 cam, right?
Yes.
You know, the Z28 cam is like 330 or 340, and it's only 250 or 240 when you get down to the at 50 numbers,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
so what that does makes the cam last a long time. Basically,
It does,
is what
it does.
It makes it soft. One question for you, Bill. I checked the lobe separation or the center line when I was taking the engine apart, and I hadn't touched anything. I checked it right there. I got 105 or 106 degrees. The lobe separation angles 112 degrees.
Right.
And it's amazing how close all these numbers are to the advertised numbers. Like
It is,
just
it
within
is.
a degree, right?
Yep,
Right? And that's a
exactly.
lot. I mean,
Did you check that with load on the engine?
no,
Or
I
load
didn't.
on the
I
valve
had
springs?
one piston and one valve and one lifter in it at the time. I could turn the crank by hand, basically.
So I've usually found that if you have all the valve springs in there, and if you check the balancer and you move the crank,
A little slack. in
the
there.
timing chain, everything takes up some slack. It could be 2 degrees usually.
Okay.
So
But it's still like 6 degrees
it's
advance built into it, right?
Right, exactly.
Is that something we should? They do that for obvious reasons, right? To make it drivable and have vacuum and all that. But is that something? If he wants performance, would you stick with that or not?
no, probably not.
Okay.
No, for one thing.
Most race cams don't do that, right?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. So.
For one thing, I'd probably put a 8620 steel core in it. I noticed when we were turning this over, there's already rust on the one lobe here, and I can tell you right now. I'll just turn it so you can see it. You see that rust right there? Those are pit marks starting already, and that's not going to go away.
That cam's had a good.
You can feel that.
It's had a charmed life. Like, how'd that happen, right? I mean, it had to be there when it came that way, right?
The rust was probably in the lobe, in the cam when they did it. So that will fail. I can guarantee you that, because it's a little pit mark or a whole bunch of little pit marks, and that's where it's going to start to chew it up. So steel camshaft. I'd like to see 600 lift. I believe that our flow numbers between 6 and 7. Let me see where I actually put that here. So here, Alex, there's the flow numbers right there. So that's 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. At 600, like between 5 and 6, it picks up quite a bit. Like that's 16, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 CFM there. So I'd like to see 600 lift right on the nose there, and use as much of this head as we can, right? I'd like to see a lower lobe separation. I'd probably put this on a 107, and that'll make a lot more torque.
What about his vacuum now if you put it on a 107?
I've done 2 or 3 of these on a 107, and there's still lots of vacuum. It's got 10 inches or
We're
more.
about 16 inches right now, 15, 16 inches now.
Right. Well, it's going to put it down to 10,
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
But there's
So you
still,
can live with that,
You
right?
can live with that, right? You know.
Okay.
Duration, probably add like 6 degrees duration
Yeah, at 50 numbers.
at 50 numbers.
At 50, because the advertised numbers are already.
Now, so that'll put so adding 6 degrees, so that would put it like 247, 255 roughly. So at 247, the intake lobe will actually be 295 advertised duration. So we're actually making the overlap less. Okay.
Right. But
And-
your ramps
and
are faster now.
The ramps are faster.
right?
We're going to gain vacuum there because the open and close points are going to be quicker.
Right.
So
Yep.
the exhaust will close quicker also. So instead of the exhaust being 320, it'll be like 305 or 306, and that will perk the engine up a lot. That'll make a lot more torque. A new cam would probably be 40 to 50 foot-pounds of torque. There's no reason this engine can't make 585 to 600 foot-pounds of torque, and close to 600 horsepower.
Well, David, you got something to think about. So I think we started off saying, I had the wrong numbers on the camera initially. I said, boy, we need to put a bigger cam. And then when I saw these numbers, I thought, oh, it's not that bad. But
Right.
it can be better, right? So it's a matter, but we're into, now what about rocker arm ratio? Should we go up on the rocker arm ratio too or not?
If that was a steel core, I would do it with rocker ratio.
You're afraid it's going to hurt it?
Well, when you go up in rocker
More
ratio,
force on it.
you need more spring pressure, and more spring pressure is going to be hard on the core. So
It's leverage. It's going to put more pressure on
it is automatically.
The same spring pressure.
Yes.
It's going to put more.
So we could achieve it. So just by going to a 1.7 rocker, we could pick up the 300 and 400 numbers probably by 12 degrees.
On the intake you're talking.
On the intake.
Intake only.
Yep, on the intake only. So
Okay.
12 degrees would make it think that it's a lot bigger cam, right? So
Right. Piston to valve clearance. You said you had some numbers there.
yeah, piston to valve clearance. We're going to have lots because we were only
Oh, we'll check it anyway.
we were 115 piston or 115 valve lift at top dead center and 140 at top dead center on the exhaust.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the valve notches. So usually the intake will be closest 8 degrees to 10 degrees after top dead center,
The exhaust.
and the
other way
exhaust is the other way. It'll be 8 to 10 before. So top dead center's a rough indication of how much valve to piston clearance we will have. If we go with a new cam, just by shortening the advertised duration up a little bit, it's going to take some of that actual lift away. Now, when we go from 112 to 107, we're going to gain it again.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure there'll be enough valve to piston clearance with the pistons that are in the engine. So as you can see, you know, BluePrint did a good job, but there's always compromises. So it all boils down to horsepower, guys. If you want to make 600 horse, it's going to cost you some money to make that, you know, and it'll still be reliable. The lobes that I use, they're comp lobes, and they're like a new style lobe they've had in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's very stable on the valve train. Now, speaking of base circle, okay, this is a 1-inch 32 base circle. The base circle here, 1 inch 32 thousandths. All right. That is a smaller base circle than stock. So when you order a cam, you can order any base circle you want. So typically when I do a 427, 434, or even a 414, I'll use a 950 to a 980 base circle. Smaller still.
Okay.
But they need a steel core. You can't go that small with a cast core. You're going to weaken it too much. So that's another thing you have to think about, you know.
So I wasn't totally wrong when I said it was a small.
No,
it's smaller than stock.
It's smaller than stock.
But there's smaller than that.
There's smaller,
right?
I mean, there's 900 base circles.
Yeah, but I think the one I measured was 1.2, and that was 1.04 or something like that.
Yep.
So,
so
half wrong and half right, I guess. So.
Well, you were right saying it's small base circle compared to what a stock cam would be. So, any other questions?
No, I think you covered it, Bill. You know, the interesting stuff, as I said, the advertise when they start off. If you want to know about this cam, if you go on Summit catalog and they tell you the lift and the duration at 50, and not even where the center line is. Why should they? You're not building it, right?
No, exactly.
I measured where the center line is, so you have to go with that. But there's a lot more to a cam than the lift and duration.
There is.
So as you can see, and how it affects, you know, what you're pointing out is you match the lift to the head. So we know what the heads can flow. Doesn't help the heads to flow at 600 thou if you don't go to 600 thou. That's kind of what it comes down to, right? So if you put a cam in that's in that range, you're going to use that head more than you were. And by the way, based on if you watch the previous video when Bill flowed the heads, Dave has asked us now to have Bill flow. We only flowed one port in the video. He's going to flow all the rest of the cylinders and do the same port work that he did on the other cylinders. And especially if you're going to use the cam, it'll work together, right?
Right. Now there's one more thing with lift. It's not always the lift, but it's getting the mid lift where you want to. So by increasing the maximum lift, if you go half of that and you look at your flow at 300, 400, you're going to increase the flow at that point, not just the peak. So the lift is only
not straight up, right?
It's not straight up, no.
Yeah, right.
No. So and lift is duration. So for every 10 thou lift, it's 1 degree.
Okay, I did not know that.
So by going 577 to 600, it's like adding 3 degrees. So if you took the lobe, the picture of that lobe, and you took it off of here and you laid it out, and you measured it from here to here, and then you took a lobe with more duration because it's higher, that's going to be longer. Okay, so you made the lobe bigger and longer without hurting the overlap flow.
Right. Got
so that's very important. Another thing I would do is if there was going to be a new cam made, I'd probably go with an LS1 firing order.
Okay.
It's a smoother firing order.
1, 8, 7, 3. 1 and 2 are mixed backwards.
4, 7, 3, and 5, I believe.
3 and 2.
3 and 2s, yes.
3 and 2. Boy, I got to retrain myself. 1, 8, 4.
I should have had this written down. It's a smoother firing order. The LS, it's not specific to LS1s, by the way. Cadillac had it back in 1954. So it's an old way of making the engine smoother. And
I've used quite a few 4.7 swaps. For some reason
me too.
they make a lot of 4.7 swaps, but they're not all 3 and 2 swaps as well,
No,
right?
no. But I mean, it's, I've been using LS1 firing orders probably since 2008 in my super stock stuff, and I've never back to back it, but the engine just seems to be happier in the higher RPM ranges. So if you're making a cam, you might as well get the latest and the greatest.
Just remind me of when I'm putting the spark plug
wires on. It won't make much power with two of them mixed up.
No. Okay, great. That's awesome, Bill. That's I learn something every time I come here, and I learned lots today. And thank you very much
You're
for
welcome,
sharing
Alan.
your knowledge, Bill. Back to David. Lots to think about, and for everybody else, please like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, please. Yes, sir. The channel's growing well. Thanks, guys.
So we made a comment. We started laughing when we got here. I used to be an engine builder that made videos, and now I'm a YouTube guy that makes builds engine once in a while. So I'm so busy with videos, I haven't got time to build my motors. But I'll get back to it. I got 2 or 3 in the shop, and we will have videos about them coming up. I will be dynoing my son's 406 on the 19th of July. That's only 2 weeks away, and we'll be making a video of that. So we'll have some dynos that are my engine for a change. So.
It'll be nice. Yeah.
Thanks very much,
right.
Bill.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching Gold's Garage.
Thanks, guys.